There's always a debate about what makes a good mom. And before we really get into today's video, I just want to let you know that I am not a parent. Well, unless you count my dog son, who I can say is definitely more spoiled than most kids. Aww. Even though I don't have kids, I've been around enough moms to know that parenting these days is harder than ever. Which is why, as much as I do want kids of my own, hell no. I mean, is it even ethical to have a child right now? Because between the economy, climate change, and literal wars happening on our planet right now, I genuinely don't know how you can do it. So honestly, shout out to the moms who are doing it. Because on top of everything else, like, girl, it's not enough to just raise your kids anymore out here. Thanks to social media, you're somehow expected to do all that and make it look cute for the internet. And that's why I completely understand why some moms are just done with the pressure to be perfect. Once you get burned out from trying to do everything right all the time while juggling these impossible standards, eventually you just stop caring, right? A mindset and approach that some moms online have taken to a whole other level. We're talking donuts for your 1-year-old for breakfast, pizzas for your dinner every day, maggots and flies taking over the sink, and hopping from motel to motel with 5 kids because you can't be bothered to get a stable job, all while flipping moldy laundry. What the do you mean laundry moldy flip, girl? Today we're diving into the rise and psychology of the lazy mom trend and the drama surrounding the most lazy moms on TikTok. Because apparently the bar for parenting these days is buried somewhere deep under the trash piles, hiding underneath your bed.
Here I'm trying to get my daughter to be here helping me. She was eager to help me. She loved coming under the bed and pushing all this garbage out.
Oh my God, what is that? Oh my God! What is that?
Now, I just want to make it clear that this video isn't about mom shaming or tearing down other women who are genuinely struggling. I really do feel for parents who are genuinely burnt out, especially in these trying times. It's just that some of what we're seeing online goes way past relatable struggles and starts to feel genuinely concerning, especially when you see entire comment sections defending this kind of behavior like it's normal, or worse, something to aspire to. But before we get into all that, meet Nara Smith. This 24-year-old, effortlessly gorgeous mom has 4 kids with her smoking hot model husband. She has over 12 million followers on TikTok. Her family is very wealthy. Nara is the embodiment of when we say mother is mothering. For a while, it seemed like Nara was the standard of mothering, you know. Every mom online was suddenly trying to do the same thing with the matching glass jars, perfect morning routines, homemade almond milk at 6 a.m., and all that crap. Until one day, I think moms all over the world looked at that, collectively sighed, and said, nope. I ain't doing all that. And thus, the lazy mom movement was born. The lazy mom movement is an online trend where moms openly embrace the label of being lazy. So this movement sort of acknowledges that it's impossible to live to the idealized perfect mom standard, like the Nara Smith lifestyle, which even Nara has gone out to say isn't realistic herself. At its core, the movement says, look, motherhood is really hard, right? And if I'm just a mom trying her best and that's still not good enough, then go ahead and call me lazy.
Let me just set the record straight. I do not call myself a lazy mom because I think I'm lazy. I call myself a lazy mom because society thinks that if you're a stay-at-home mom, that your house should be spotless all the time. You should always have your shit together. Dinner should be done at 5 p.m. for your husband when he gets home. That's just not the kind of life that I'm living. And I will never live that life.
I think the problem with that, though, is like all labels, the word lazy is relative. And what I mean by that is what looks lazy to one mom might actually be a lot of work to another. For some people, being a lazy mom really just depends on who you ask and what kind of mom culture they're a part of, right? Because if it's mom culture on the internet, buckle the up, you know? It's the internet, people. We can't have nice things around here. All we get are terrible takes on what good parenting is supposed to look like. And diabetes before we even hit 2. Duh. Just ask our first lazy TikTok mom, Alex Sabal. Alex Sabal, better known as Alex Baby 97 or Donut Mom, is famous, or should I say infamous, on TikTok for presenting herself as a tired and exhausted stay-at-home mom who's just doing her best. But when your best is showing yourself feeding donuts to your kids for breakfast every day while living in extreme filth while doing nothing about it, the internet starts to wonder what doing your best even really means. Now, this TikTok mom has been talked about pretty extensively already in the past year or so, but please tell me why no one's mentioned that before her TikTok fame. Alex dabbled in writing romance novels? Like, hello? I was stunned when I came across her old Amazon authored page because, I mean, look, it is shocking how much more put together Mama was back then compared to how she presents herself now. Like, we are talking about full smoky eyeliner and dark lipstick over here. She did not look like a lazy mom back then. Lazy mom who? Lazy mama who? We saw the vision, mamas. Unfortunately, though, it didn't look like Alex's writing career lasted very long because it looks like she was only able to write that one book. And let's just say it was kind of a flop. Some people would say it was even a bit of a preview for her parenting era, honestly. Even though her book flopped, Alex still seemed determined to make a comeback. But instead of a comeback novel, Alex served something else entirely. Powdered donuts on a plastic pink plate. And little did everyone know that plate was the beginning of what we can only describe as a lazy mom cinematic universe. Let's just say there is a lot going on here. I mean, it's the throwing the plate down nonchalantly for me. This video was the one that really kicked things off, not only for Alex, but for the unhinged version of the lazy mom trend too. This video blew up on the internet, and it's hard not to see why, right? I mean, visually, it's just wild. Like the sad little pink plate, the donuts, the way her daughter just sort of goes straight for the most nutritional thing first. Now, with all this mommy content online, people are always gonna have an opinion. Everyone suddenly becomes an expert, if you know what I mean. But what's interesting is how differently people responded this time. Man, this is just so sad. Please tell me this is rage bait. This is clearly horrendous for the kid, and there's a serious problem here. But also watching this, I felt myself feeling bad for her too. She seems really depressed. So most comments were actually like this, which was honestly kind of surprising. I think most people who saw this video weren't making fun of her. They were just genuinely concerned. Like, it wasn't just, oh my God, what kind of mom feeds her donuts kids for breakfast, you know? It was more like, is she genuinely okay? Because there is an underlying vibe that something about the whole video felt kind of off. But I think that concern shifted pretty quickly once people realized this wasn't just a one-off video. She really was out here feeding her kids donuts for breakfast every single day. Now, as you can imagine, this is when people started to get kind of mad and started to question if this whole version of the lazy mom trend was relatable at all. Like, I guess feeding your kids donuts every once in a while is okay, right? Even as an adult, I too have definitely grabbed a donut at a coffee shop and called it breakfast when I was running late for work. But like, every day for a 1-year-old? More donuts? Are you serious? Why does she keep making videos of this? Does she think she's doing good? This is how I was raised, and I've lost 130 pounds since moving out of my parents' house. I wouldn't wish this on anyone. I hope these are healthy donuts or this is just some special occasion, because this is a bit concerning. These were some of the comments people were starting to make, and like, no, seriously, it is concerning. Now, I totally understand that mom shaming online can be brutal. Why did I say it like that? Brutal. People online can definitely take it too far when it comes to judging moms, especially donut mom, where some of the comments seriously need to chill because they are bordering on fat phobic, honestly. But this situation is different, right? And it's not about tearing a mom down. A lot of people are just coming from a place of concern, I think. Because from a nutritional standpoint, donuts as the main dish just aren't a balanced breakfast for a 1-year-old, right? At that age, kids need meals that include protein, healthy fats, complex carbs, and fiber to support brain development, growth, and stable energy. Now, a donut, even with something like applesauce or fruit on the side, is mostly just refined sugar and simple carbs. While it does give a quick burst of energy, it actually doesn't contain the kind of nutrients a developing toddler actually needs to thrive. Now, here's where it gets a little crazy and very internet discoursey. But let's be real, who doesn't love a little bit of internet discourse, am I right? So some people saw nothing wrong with feeding a child donuts for breakfast every day, to the point where they were actually defending donut mom. At least she feeds the kids and takes the time too. Plus, it's what they enjoy. Why do people hate? At least she's feeding them something. It's not that bad. At least she's feeding her kids. I don't know why people always hate on her. She tries her best to feed them. All right, I'm sorry, but we absolutely need to pause for a second because... What? Huh? Are we literally at a point right now where we're trying so hard to be relatable that donuts for breakfast every day is suddenly okay? I, for one, am aghast. My flappers are fully gasted. At least she's feeding her kids. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't feeding your kids just the basic thing to do? Like, I get that for some parents, that might not be the easiest things, but isn't that what we literally expect from parents? The problem here is that this lazy mom trend gets glorified as relatable when it's not. It's simply normalizing parenting that's barely above the bare minimum, right? Now, I get that social media thrives on relatability and people just want to feel like they're not alone in their struggles. Honestly, I totally get that. Parenting is hard and everyone has those days where you just do what you can just to get through it. But I think there's a line, you know. I don't know if it's just me, but I think it's fair to say that for some of these moms, using the phrases, I'm tired or I'm doing my best, is just a way to excuse half-ass parenting. I don't know. Because we will see soon that letting I'm tired or I'm doing my best slide, especially on TikTok, tends to get really messy really fast. I mean, just take a look at the state of Alex's home.
People also don't believe me that this is like one day of stuff for my kid.
1 day? Girl, there are random bits of food buried under piles of wrappers, what looks like chewed on scraps, and the lids of soda cups scattered everywhere. Like, I don't even know how you walk around in there throughout the day without crunching on something. Now, don't get me wrong. I get that having kids means your home isn't always going to be spotless, and they're not exactly going to clean up after themselves. But this isn't just a little clutter. This is literal trash and dirt on the floor. And keep in mind that this is not just Alex's living room that gets to this level of filth. The mess extends to other parts of the house. For example, in the kitchen, Alex has literally filmed herself surrounded by piles of rusted over dishes stacked so high, they're practically spilling out of the sink. In some of her videos, you can literally see cockroaches on the walls, flies buzzing around, and maggots crawling on drying forks. I think we can all agree that there's a difference between having a sink full of plates after a long week and having maggots literally forming colonies on your utensils, right? Like, God, I feel like I lose brain cells trying to make sense of this for you and for the sake of the video, because somehow there are still people in the comments saying, all I see is a mom trying and at least she's feeding them. Trying? Feeding them? Feeding who exactly? The maggots? Because they sure look well fed. Now look, I'm not trying to be mean here, and I get if people are going to interpret it that way. It's just a bit frustrating, you know? So mental health issues like depression, burnout, postpartum struggles are all real, and Alex has openly acknowledged her own depression in the past. Yes, it can absolutely explain why some things in our house or her parenting might fall short, like, you know, forgetting to do small things or staying on top of the mess. I know how heavy it can feel, but letting maggots and filth fester isn't something you just can't help when kids are involved, right? I think that's why it's so important to actually talk about getting help when you're struggling. And I know, oh my God, I know it's definitely easier said than done, but people defending this as normal struggles doesn't erase the reality that her children, you know, are the ones living in that environment. They're the ones who have to deal with the consequences of unhealthy meals and unsafe, unsanitary spaces every single day. And they're the ones growing up thinking that this is what normal looks like just because their TikTok famous mom gets enabled by strangers online, okay? I'm just gonna say it. Now, to be fair, Alex and some of the people defending her in the comments might genuinely not realize this is not normal behavior, especially when it comes to the donuts. Like, I actually see a lot of people online referring to fruits and vegetables as diet food, which is both crazy and sad to think about, honestly. But I think at the same time, if enough people are pointing something out or raising concerns, maybe it's worth taking a step back and looking into it a little, you know? And honestly, to give her credit, that's exactly what Alex did, because I think she looked at some of the criticisms regarding to how she feeds her kid and improved her cooking a bit, which is like, go mommy, growth is growth, right? We can only hope that she keeps the same energy going with her house too, like go through another little character development arc, but maybe with a vacuum and some cleaning spray this time. Unfortunately, not everyone in this whole lazy mom trend shows that same willingness to change, even if it's just a little bit, which kind of means that I think we have to acknowledge that some of these big mom creators aren't struggling, right? They're just being shitty moms. Like, genuinely just being a crap parent. And I know it's harsh to say that, but it's incredibly frustrating watching people excuse straight up neglect as if we've completely forgotten that the kids are the ones paying the price for it. So for this next section, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the psychology of it all. Not just the mindset of these lazy moms on TikTok, but also the mental gymnastics of the audience that defends them. Because to say that the next mom's behaviors we're going to talk about is much, much worse than donut moms would honestly be an understatement. Like, the next mom, you guys, the next mom makes donut mom's house look spotless in comparison. So let's talk about a psychological and behavioral concept called blind compassion. Blind compassion, also known as idiot's compassion, is rooted in the belief that we are all doing the best we can. Sounds familiar, right? Emphasis on the word idiots, because judging by these comment sections, let's just say the term is fitting a little too well, you know what I mean? When we are driven by blind compassion, we cut everyone far too much slack, making excuses for others' behavior. Blind compassion is rooted in fear, and not just fear of confrontation, but also fear of not coming across as a good or spiritual person. Also, with blind compassion, we don't know how to or won't learn to say no with any real power, avoiding confrontation at all costs, and as a result, enabling unhealthy patterns to continue. So in other words, blind compassion is when people mistake being kind with never holding anyone accountable. It's when you're so focused on being understanding and non-judgmental that you actually end up excusing behavior that's harmful. Okay, to be honest, I used to be a lot like this before, and I think it can be really easy to fall into this mindset. You know, it's kind of like this idea of keeping the peace instead of speaking up. You'd rather give people the benefit of the doubt, especially when it seems like they're just struggling, because you don't want to cause a fight or look like the bad guy in the situation. So for me, this looked a lot like defending an ex-boyfriend who was kind of a deadbeat. He'd be playing video games all day instead of getting a job, and I'd be like, oh, he's just figuring it out. We don't need to put him down more. But I think the problem with that is that you're not putting up any real boundaries. You actually then start enabling the other person and their behavior. But here's the thing, right? In my situation, Everyone involved was an adult. With these TikTok moms, there are kids involved. Kids who don't get a say in whether their struggles get filmed and posted online for millions of people to see, you know? Also, at a certain point, looking at a literal health hazard for a child because their mom can't be bothered to do something as basic as cleaning properly and still calling it doing your best isn't compassion anymore, right? That's just putting the idiots in idiots' compassion, if you know what I mean. All it really does is enable these unhealthy behaviors to keep going and lets bad moms make money off of them. And oh, you're about to really see that with our next TikTok mom.
Get my house ready with me so CPS can come over.
AmandaMCG is a mom who has over 500,000 followers on TikTok. And the way she got all that is by showing off how she cleans her relatable lazy mom mess. Except this is what that relatable mess actually looks like.
Well, here's exactly what my house looked like when the CPS lady walked in yesterday. Minus the load of dishes, because we did a load of dishes before she got here. So to some of you, I get that it's not perfect.
Not perfect? Girl, that is straight up squalor.
Good morning, and we are back with another bedroom cleaning video. I did have my daughter go under the bed and push all the trash out.
No, you did not just make your kid do that.
Here, I'm trying to get my daughter to be here helping me. She was eager to help me. She loved coming under the bed and pushing all this garbage out. As you can see here, she's loving it.
Well, it's kind of hard to see her loving it when she's literally buried under all that trash. Now, I don't have to make much commentary on how not okay this house is, right? Like, I think we can all see it with our own two eyes. I think Amanda's content is a perfect example of what happens when the relatable mom trend goes unchecked and when people who defend it with blind compassion keep cheering it on. I mean, her entire content is just her constantly cleaning the same mess over and over again. Yet somehow, people still think this is fine. Amanda's situation is a little different though, because she actually does acknowledge that this level of cleanliness in her home has been a problem for her.
There's no excuse for this, and I know that. I'm not making one. This is absolutely horrible, and I hate that I have come to this again. You know, I've been dealing with this battle for 4 or 5 years now, you know, probably my whole life. I never was taught to clean very well.
And this is where it honestly gets a bit complicated and tricky to talk about. Now, I'm not a psychologist, right? I'm not going to pretend I am, but clearly there's something deeper going on here, as in mental health struggles. And we should definitely hold the space for it. But at the same time, I think we can agree that you can care about someone's mental health and still say, hey, this isn't okay, right? Especially when you're at the point, you know, when you're asking your kid to push garbage out under the bed. Because I think what's really frustrating is when mental health starts getting used as a shield or straight up neglect in the context of parenting. And I say that with full compassion because I get it. Shame and guilt can keep people stuck. But using mental health as a free pass to never take accountability, it's not really fair to the kids who have to live in the consequences of that avoidance every single day. The tricky part too is that when people start posting these kinds of things on TikTok, it almost makes the problem harder to fix. Because now the mess becomes content, and content means views and sometimes money, and suddenly there's not a reason to get any better. And usually what happens is that people start comforting and validating the behavior instead of encouraging any real change, like this comment. Okay, but this is nothing compared to Alex Sabal. At least Amanda doesn't have maggots on her knives, forks, plates, etc. Have a look at Alex's page. She has the blue tick. Have a look at her page before you start on Amanda. You'll see Amanda's isn't that bad. What? Are you serious? And this is exactly where the blind compassion we talked about earlier starts to look really silly because hello, are we looking at the same things, girl? Have you seen the state of Amanda's fridge? Is it not clocking to you that she's not standing on business here?
You're not getting it. It's not clocking to you. It's not clocking to you that I'm standing on business, is it?
All jokes aside, comparing one messy home to another doesn't make either situation okay. Like, it's not a contest here to see whose neglect is more acceptable, you know? I think we can all agree that both are concerning, deserve accountability, and shouldn't be normalized as relatable mom struggles. Okay, breaking news. As I was doing research for this video, Amanda did actually reach out for help, which is like, yay! As you would think, because let's just say things didn't exactly go to plan. So there was this recent incident where a cleaning service offered to come and clean Amanda's house for free. The event, which was called the Cleaning with Compassion Project, was organized by a lady named Amy and a volunteer team of other cleaners, right? Now, Amy has a huge TikTok page herself. On TikTok, she goes by the name Boss Lady Cleaning Hacks, and her content focuses on severely cluttered and neglected homes and cleaning them. From what I can see on Amy's page, it seemed like she genuinely wanted to help Amanda. A lot of people were actually judging her for it though, saying things like, Amanda doesn't deserve this, or other people need it more. But Amy shut that down pretty quickly and made it super clear about not wanting to send hate Amanda's way. I personally think she was doing this clean more for the kids than for Amanda. Honestly, the fact that her team flew across the country and drove 4 hours from the airport just to help Amanda and her family says a lot about her intention. Now, I'm saying all this because it's important to keep in mind once we get into the drama that went down after the clean, because it gets messy, like messier than Amanda's house kind of messy. Amy and her team ended up cleaning for 3 whole days, and they did an amazing job. Like, they went all in. We're talking scrubbing walls, clearing out more piles of trash from under the beds, disinfecting everything. Honestly, it was kind of shocking just to see how filthy the house actually was beyond what Amanda had shown in her videos. I'm gonna spare you some of the footage because some of it will actually make you gag, especially the bathroom. Like, girl. It's actually making me gag just thinking about that damn toilet. At the end of it all, Amanda and her team managed to do in 3 days what Amanda couldn't do for 5 years for her kids. But Amy and her team did it. And I wish I could tell you that was that, you know? That everyone was happy and grateful and moved on. But this is Amanda we're talking about.
Everybody knows me. Everybody's been talking about me.
So right after the cleaners leave, Amanda's main TikTok account gets banned, unrelated to the cleaning event.
Okay, guys, if you see this video, you know my account got permanently banned. I was live and we were going through stuff in my daughter's room, and I walked away and I said, please, you gotta stay out of the camera. You gotta stay out. And she didn't listen to me. I'm never going live again.
Nice. You will have time to clean. I shouldn't find that funny. I mean, they're not wrong, but damn. Despite people joking around saying she finally has time to clean or whatever, she did lose about $2,000 in payout for the month that was supposed to go towards supporting her kids, which is pretty rough, not gonna lie. But a lot of people took issue with this video because it was kind of coming across like she was blaming someone else for what happened. In this case, her daughter. It left people with a bad taste in their mouths because instead of taking accountability, it felt like she was shifting the blame. And honestly, this sort of sets the tone for what happens next. Because after the emotional crying video, Amanda starts posting a series of unhinged videos, right? And a lot of people interpreted them as complaining about the clean. I think I'll let you just watch the video so you can decide for yourself.
This is what I mean about not being able to find anything, and this is no hate to the ladies that came and cleaned for me. This is just the process of me explaining things after they leave. I've always had a bad habit of doing laundry, leaving it in the basket clean, and then digging for clean clothes out of the laundry basket. This is all my laundry. Now, this is a mix of dirty and clean laundry now. I don't know what's what. That stresses me out. I don't know what to do about that.
I don't know, girl. Just rewash everything and fold? Like, it really does sound like Amanda is low-key complaining because she's really fixating on not being able to find anything. Almost like it's the cleaner's fault for not organizing every last thing. And people definitely picked up on that, you know? It kind of came across like the clean created new problems for her, which is like, girl, they cleaned your entire house for free. Not long after that, Amy, the cleaning lady, ended up actually blocking Amanda, probably because of this video.
So Amy showed you a nice, beautiful, stripped down, clean house. But in reality, I got a lot of shit to put away and a lot of shit to do. I'm so grateful for what they have done and what they did. And they came, and Amy and Keeks and Nancy and Jose, they were amazing. The expectation and the reality were a little different. And yes, I will be able to put this all back together eventually. And for somebody who does not clean and know how to clean after they left, this area is still a little jacked up. So, yeah. That's that. Also, to everybody how, oh, they came here for free and you're still complaining. The money Amy has made off of her videos from my house, oh, it's a good couple $1,000s. I guarantee it. So, take that with what you will. Take that with what you will.
Ah, yes, the classic thank you, but no thank you speech, right? Thanks for cleaning. Don't get me wrong. I'm so grateful, but also no, because everything's still a mess and I've got to deal with it. And oh, that Amy made a couple thousand off my house. So yeah, her too. Call me crazy, but when you start piecing everything together from her reaction to the TikTok ban, nitpicking minor stuff about the clean, and then this last video where she's basically insinuating the clean wasn't really free because Amy made a good amount of money from it, it really makes it look like Amanda wasn't in it to actually change. Just frustrated she didn't get as much money for herself out of the situation. Now, I could be wrong, but that's the vibe I'm getting. Please feel free to call me out in the comments if you don't agree, but that's what it's kind of looking like to me. Amanda's been open that she struggled for years. And yes, mental health definitely plays a part and is an explanation to why things are happening. But at some point, I hope we can stop treating sympathy as a substitute for accountability. Now, let's be real for a sec. Some parents are just bad parents. And I don't mean struggling with mental health bad or burnt out and trying bad. I mean for real lazy moms and lazy dads. And thanks to TikTok, these types of parents are actually rewarded. Some of these parents even go out of their way to exaggerate or straight up manufacture their hardship just to farm sympathy, views, and donations, which really raises the question whether this type of content should even be platformed at all. Which brings us to our next example. And ooh, this one's a ride, so buckle up. Meet the Resilient Jenkins, a vlogging family made up of 5 kids, a talentless mother named Stephanie, their deadbeat father Drew, and the most important member of the family, a PS5. If you know, you know. So the Resilient Jenkins whole thing is showing the day-to-day life of a lower income family struggling to make things meet. And I'm using heavy air quotes on purpose because their most viral moment, which is a video of all 7 of them crammed into one tiny apartment, wasn't giving struggling. It was giving, you guys did this to your damn selves.
As you can read in the caption above, we're a family of 6 going on 7 living in a 1-bedroom apartment. As the kids grow older, that means we constantly have to adapt our environment to give them more means for privacy and extra space. Generally, the instant judgment me and my husband receive, why have so many kids if you don't have enough space for them? See, my perception is judgment comes from a place of not having the experience. When you've experienced enough, you generally don't judge people.
So at the time of this video, people were losing their minds over this, like genuinely baffled. One word, why? I just sighed the biggest and deepest sigh I've ever sighed. Our kids come first. None of them have their own space though. Going on 7? What? Hey, so this is a choice. Honestly, that last comment sort of nails it because it is a choice. The Resilient Jenkins situation is a choice. And, you know, conversations about parenting and money are always tricky. I'm not trying to come off as judgmental or classist here. Like, yes, life can be unfair. Yes, systematic issues make it harder for some families to get ahead. But at some point, personal decisions do matter, right? Even a lot of parents in Stephanie's own comments were like, girl, if you're already struggling to care for the kids you have, maybe stop adding more. So this specific situation doesn't necessarily show the Resilient Jenkins parents being lazy. It's more about a pattern of bad decisions and zero accountability, all while getting rewarded for it on TikTok. And that's what starts to rub people the wrong way, right? People aren't mad that they're struggling. They're mad that the struggle gets turned into a shield, sort of like this moral high ground that excuses everything that comes after. Despite how sketch the situation already looked, you know, with all the kids sleeping on mattresses in the living room, while Stephanie and Drew had the entire master bedroom to themselves, complete with a king-size bed, a giant flat screen TV, and a PS5, people online still decided to help them out. And honestly, I think this part really says a lot about the internet. We always talk about that social media can definitely be toxic, but moments like this remind you that most people are actually still kind and just want to help. I think most people do want to believe in second chances. Even with Stephanie and Drew's audacity, people were buying toys off the kids' Amazon wish lists and even got them a bunk bed at one point, which honestly was long overdue, right? It is so crazy to think that it took strangers online and not the parents to make that happen. But here's the thing about generosity, right? It only works when the people receiving it aren't total assholes who keep screwing their kids over. And unfortunately for the Jenkins family, well, you're about to see exactly what I mean. Because Drew is such a deadbeat dad who'd legitimately rather play on his PS5 all day than get a job to provide for his family, the Resilient Jenkins end up getting evicted from their cramped one-bedroom apartment earlier this year. And just as a side note, when I say that man loves that PS5, it's practically his sixth child, maybe even his favorite one, you know? I wish I was exaggerating. And if you're wondering why Drew refuses to work, well, according to him,
I'll let you guys know why I can't get a job. Or don't. It's not that I don't. It's that I don't want to. I don't like people telling me what to do. I don't like being somewhere I don't want to be for an extended period of time. And people be having attitudes. Customers be having attitudes, and I don't. I don't like to deal with it. So I'll just walk out. I will not show up the next day.
It's hard to even know where to start with how ridiculous what he just said is. Like, bro, it's not like there are 5 kids depending on you or anything, right? Maybe the PS5 can start paying the bill since clearly you won't. And this right here is where the laziness part really shows, because it's not just being tired or overwhelmed like some may argue in the cases of Donut Mom or AmandaMCG. Here, it's about straight up opting out of responsibility. Like, bruh, who actually likes being told what to do? I'm sorry, but that's literally called having a job. We all have to do things we don't enjoy sometimes, right? That's just being an adult, and even more so when you choose to be a parent. This is the moment where Drew, and even more so Stephanie, really start to show just how emotionally immature they are. So as you may know, emotional immaturity is basically when someone struggles to manage their emotions, take responsibility for their actions, or consider the long-term consequences of their choices. When you are emotionally immature, you tend to act in ways that are impulsive, self-centered, and short-sighted, right? So most adults start developing emotional maturity in their mid-20s to early 30s as they gain life experience. But when you never face consequences or self-reflect, you end up like this. When people started asking Stephanie what her plan was after getting evicted, she basically said she didn't have one, other than maybe getting a storage unit and bouncing between hotels. And I'm sorry, but that level of uncertainty would send most parents into panic, right? But apparently not Stephanie.
What would the plan be if you guys don't find housing? Okay, I don't know of another plan besides getting a hotel and getting a storage unit, because even the fact that I have 4 siblings who have housing out here and a mother, none of them have offered for us to stay with them until we figure out some kind of situation. Nor would I even want to stay with any of them because they haven't been here through any of this shit, okay? That's just my siblings and my family. The situation was reversed, they would be receiving support from me, and that's how it's always been.
At this point, it's hard not to feel a little bad for Stephanie, right? Like, if you've ever had a family like that, you'd know exactly how much it hurts when people who are supposed to care about you don't show up. It is lonely. It is really a horrible feeling to have if that's what's really happening here. Because plot twist, not long after that video, Stephanie's mom herself pops up on TikTok and enters the freaking chat. Like, full face, camera on, ready to clear her damn name. And let me tell you, the way she starts talking, it becomes very clear that this whole "my family abandoned me" thing might not be quite the tragic story Stephanie made it sound like. In her TikTok response, Stephanie's mom goes on to talk about how hard it's been for her to watch not just Stephanie, but also her grandkids go through all this. Stephanie's mom goes on to say that she's reached out before and tried to help plenty of times, but she can't keep stepping in while Drew's still around. I mean, she straight up says says,
watching my daughter make decisions to stay with a man who clearly does not care about her, doesn't care about those children. Drew's not welcome here. He's not welcome here.
It's not hard to see where she's coming from, right? Especially when the man's only job he's ever been committed to is maintaining his relationship with that damn PS5. But I digress. Not long after her mom's video started making the rounds, Stephanie saw it, and of course, she had a response.
It's move-out day tomorrow, and in case you didn't catch on, we did not find a place, so we will be going to a hotel and getting a storage unit. And no, I will not be taking my mom up on her offer on me and my kids going to stay with her. That is just not gonna happen. That lady popping up right now, it sickens me, honestly. And that's all I'm saying about that, because a part of me that's healed on everything that she brought on my past just does not want to spend any time on her. She gets absolutely no time of day from me. And that is for me to decide. It's not up to a bunch of strangers to decide what I should and shouldn't forget from a past you weren't even there for.
Can you believe how immature you'd have to be as a mother to choose a man over your kids when things get this bad? To pick dirty motel rooms over a home with warm beds for your kids? To say no to your mom's help, all for a guy whose full-time job seems to be maintaining a relationship with his PS5? Like, please be serious. In my opinion, this is where the lazy mom narrative really comes through. Now, I want to be super clear that plenty of women find themselves with partners who aren't supportive, and leaving isn't simple. And I think we can all agree that it's unfair to judge a woman who's genuinely doing her best in a tough situation. But what Stephanie is doing doesn't really fit that, right? Like, she actively tries to make things harder for her kids. I'm sorry, but refusing help is not doing your best in that situation. Choosing to keep your kids in unstable living conditions willingly is not doing your best in that situation. And that's why so many people call her out, you know? At the end of the day, it's about holding parents accountable when they put themselves first and turn their bad, lazy choices into TikTok content. Now we're in the present day, and Stephanie, Drew, and the kids are in their motel era. Like, literally hopping from motel to motel every 28 days, because that's how long you can stay in a motel for, or something like that. And with this whole motel vlogging era, guys, I don't know what it is for me. Is it the washing the dishes in the bathtub, the toddler sleeping on what looks like a dog bed, or the fact that they still somehow managed to prioritize Drew's precious PS5 setup in an already cramped motel room? Like, priorities, I guess. I feel like I'm overly complaining with these parents, but I just really wanted to make a point that sometimes it is just shitty parenting and legitimately lazy parenting. Because to top it all off, there's even a rumor going around that Stephanie might be pregnant again. Like, I really hope that's not true, because bringing another child into this mess would just be cruel and genuinely unfair to the kids who are already struggling. At that point, it's literal neglect, right? If it is true though, girl, we might have to call CPS and the birth control fairy at the same time. Just saying. It is so clear in their TikToks that Stephanie and Drew, they don't actually want to improve their situation. They just want attention for living in it. To be honest, the reason why I get overly emotional with the story of the Resilient Jenkins is that my own mom was similar to Stephanie in a lot of ways. I'm not going to get too deep into it or trauma dump on you or anything, but there's a really specific kind of pain that comes from watching your mother choose a partner over you, right? Especially when that partner is a deadbeat bum, you know? If you've gone through a similar experience, you know that it really messes with you. It changes the way you see love, safety, and even your own self-worth. I wouldn't wish that kind of hurt on anyone, especially not a kid who didn't ask to be part of this mess in the first place. So yeah, as much as I'm frustrated watching these situations play out, I still really hope things somehow get better for the kids of the lazy TikTok moms we talked about today. And I really hope we stop platforming this kind of behavior, because I think we can all agree that the kids in these situations deserve better than what they have, and none of this is their fault. That's all I have for you today, bestie. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I tried something a little different with this video and went a little bit deeper into the topic. So let me know if you like this kind of breakdown, because if you did, I will do more. With that, I will see you in the next video. Bye.